Today. Three main things. We're going to talk about refinancing. We're going to talk about renovation. We're going to talk about resale. That's actually what I should have titled this in retrospect, right? Refi, renovation, or resale. Is this a good time to sell my home? Is it a good time to refi? Is it a good time to, or should I renovate, right? Should I just redo my home, either to stay or either to sell? There's a lot of people that ask that question of whether they should replace the carpeting, replace what should they replace? Should they replace the roof, the AC? Should I remodel that type of thing before I put my home on the market? So, a couple of things we're going to talk about there. Number one, on the refi, actually, I'm doing it myself on my personal home. If you're thinking about staying for the next, several years, for the foreseeable future, you don't plan on moving, and you've got a interest rate that is a little bit higher, probably north of 4.5, would make sense. And it would make sense to refi. So number one, that takes care of that. So if it's a significant difference, remember there's going to be closing costs involved. And if there is a significant difference in your interest rates, then it does make sense to refinance for sure. Because interest rates, everything I'm hearing right now, it looks like it is going to go up. Interest rates looks like they're going to go up either later on this year into fourth quarter or next year. Looks like that's the indication. That's what I'm hearing on the street, talking to people nationwide, talking to economists, that type of thing. That's really what we're seeing at the moment. So now is a really good time to refi if you're planning on staying. If you're planning on staying and you're wondering, should I change my countertops? Should I change my flooring? And can I get my money back? Sometimes people ask that. Sometimes people will ask, should I put in a pool? And really, when we're talking about these types of things, number one, do it for your own enjoyment. Do it for your own enjoyment. Yes, resale value is a thing, but really, look, you're not buying a home typically unless you're buying a home to flip. You're buying a home to, yes, the ancillary kind of an offshoot is to make some money, and you don't want to lose money, of course. Nobody wants to lose money. But I think number one, think about your happiness. I think that is so, so crucial. Yeah. In fact, I did those numbers, and you're absolutely right. No patio villas for sale. It's unbelievable what's happening. I think we might have one or two for sale, but I think also we need to look at, there's going to be things that are going to pop up for sure. There will be. What's happening is everything that's out there is going to pop up and then come off the market, come on the market, come off the market, because it's just steaming hot. We just had a marketing session. Caravan is typically our Wednesday mornings is when Caravan typically happens. We were talking about that this morning. So there are some things that are going to be coming on the market. But think about the things, look, sometimes I don't like my toilet bowl. Like, I've heard that before. I don't like my sinks. I don't like my countertops. I would say go ahead and change it, especially if you're staying and it's going to make you happy. You're looking at it every time you walk into your home and you're like, oh, the color of this carpet, the color of the flooring, I just hate it. Or maybe you drive up to your home. It's supposed to be your sanctuary when you drive up, and you don't like the shrubbery. You don't like the trees. You don't like the bushes or the flowers. It should be something that makes your heart sing and you're happy about that. So I would encourage people to change those things and remember the obvious. The obvious is the kitchens, the bathrooms, the the lanai in the villages is super important. Exterior maintenance is really crucial, and I think those are the things that really move the needle the most. Right, paint and flooring move the needle the most when you're selling a property, and also can make big differences when you're looking for aesthetic pleasure, when you're looking for something that you really want to enjoy. So flooring, paint, shrubbery, um, those are, kitchen countertops, bathrooms, that is where you need to concentrate on, one, making yourself happy, right? And number two, of course, increasing value. Okay. But let's talk about whether, and I get a lot of questions like this on, whether people should, and I had this question, actually, one of my realtors approached me on, on a particular home that they're thinking about putting on the market. I think it was a patio villa. They're talking about putting on the market. Then another agent called me, another realtor called me and said, should we recommend to the owner to redo their property? Right? They've got a pool, and they can get more value out of it if it's renovated, right? Like it's outdated, needs some work. It's not a fixer upper, but maybe it's I think it had like Formica countertops as opposed to granite or something of that nature, marble or quartz or something of that nature. And the flooring was okay, but it wasn't brand new. Flooring was about 10 years old. Roof was about 14 years old. AC about the same age. So those are probably the four main things when we're talking about a particular home and what people usually ask about. Should I change the AC? Should I change the roof? Should I change the carpeting or flooring? And should I change the countertops? And invariably, if you, the first thing I always say is, look at your home as if you are a buyer, right? So that's the first step. Look at it as if you were a buyer and not necessarily what colors you would like, but would you say, you know what, this needs to be changed, this needs to be replaced. We know from HGTV experience, we know from real estate experience, right? Like I've sold since 2020 or 2000, right? I've been selling for over 20 years, 21 years now. And also I've, flipped properties and helped people, do the same, all of that. And my experience tells me that the buyers typically that will pay the most amount of money will be the buyers that will want something that's move-in ready. They don't want to have to replace and fix and that type of thing. Now, one of the questions and some of the pushback that we typically get would be, well, we don't know what the buyer is going to like. We don't know what colors they're going to want. We don't know if they're going to like, what kind of, if they're going to want hardwood, are they going to want, vinyl? Do they want, commercial grade vinyl, which is what we have here. Looking at that, we just replaced we're redoing the office here, as you can tell. So if you look at some of the videos, like we painted the door, that's no longer, hardwood color. It's now, white because we painted it, that type of thing, just for a fresher look. We did that for our own enjoyment aesthetically, to have something a little bit more pleasing. And I think that's what we should look at. So what do we do when you're thinking about replacing or updating? Get something conservative. I'm going to tell you that we've done this many, many times, recommended this many, many times. You need to get something that's going to be either white or beige. Nobody's ever come in and complained that something was white or beige or neutral, some kind of neutral brownish color, not dark green and purple and pink. Nothing wrong with those colors. If you want that in your own house and you want that for your own enjoyment, do it, by the way. However, we know that typically the statistics say that people will enjoy something that's a little bit more of a neutral color. And it's rare that people will say, oh my gosh, I hate this white, or I hate this gray. They may change it, but they're not going to be offended by it. And it's not going to cause them, most importantly, to say and look at your home, you know what, I don't want it. I don't want to buy it. So move-in ready always wins. You will make more money with move-in ready, and you'll actually recoup probably all of the costs, and probably make a little bit of money on your investment into these things. So, in other words, if you were to spend $5,000 in redoing your flooring, it's what's going to happen is that you're going to get more interest, and in all likelihood, you're going to actually end up net bottom line getting more than $5,000 of return, right? You probably will get, $6,000-$7,000 in return, if not more, because you've done this, as opposed to not doing it. And people will do what we call buyer's math, right? Buyer's math is essentially, oh, I need to paint this. Oh, I need to replace the flooring. Oh, I need to replace the roof or the AC or the countertops. And the buyer's math, for example, is if the roof costs $10,000 and the AC is $5,000, and the flooring would be another $5,000, and countertops would be $4,000, which is, how much is that? 10, 15, 20, about 20, let's say 24,000, which is actually real numbers. Those are real numbers. We just redid a home recently, and those were the exact numbers. And appliances, right? Actually, about 4,000. That'd be 28,000, I believe, if my quick math is correct. Buyer's math would be, well, this is going to cost about $40,000 just to redo everything. So they reduce the price. If it's listed at 290,000, they'll say, well, it needs $40,000 of work. So they'll say, oh, it's only worth 250. Or they'll look at it and say, it's just too much work. I don't want to do it. Right. So that's going to be an issue. So if you take care of those things, you can be pretty much, if the market is saying it's worth 290, you'll at least get 290. And as we know, as we've talked about over the last probably 6-7 months, you're probably going to get multiple offers, and you may end up getting more than 290, end up at 300, 305, 310, because people are like, oh my gosh, you can eat off the floors. This is beautiful. You're going to get much more activity. So hopefully that example is actually a real life example, makes sense, because you're almost better off doing what you need to do to have people feel like it's move-in ready. Super important. It's almost always going to pan out. There's always going to be an exception, I'm sure. I certainly wouldn't recommend putting in a pool just so you can have a pool home necessarily, although very interesting. We're seeing pool homes really, probably for the first time in probably ever, because of post-COVID, are selling probably for more than what it would be to actually put in a pool. It just would take a lot of time to put the pool in. I don't recommend that. That is a slight roll of the dice, but certainly when you put in a pool, you've got a pool that is a super premium right now in the villages. Obviously, it's always a big thing in Florida, but it's a real premium. Just because of COVID, I think is a big thing. So hopefully that answers a lot of questions about whether you should renovate, what you should put your money into. Let me touch upon these two things. If you have questions, by the way, 352-572-3796, or you can put it here in the chat, whether it's live or because this is live, or you can just, put it in the comments section and I'll read it later here on this channel. And actually, this is a good reason to subscribe, because you never know when I'm going to jump on and do one of these. I'm trying to keep it to Wednesdays and Fridays, but you never know. You'll be updated and see a new show every time you'll get that notification if you do subscribe. So let's talk about roof and AC. So with AC, with air conditioning units, obviously what we're seeing is right now, I can tell you this for sure, anything that has, if you say new roof, new AC unit, those are two big feathers in the cap. And on top of it, guess what? If you've got no bond, that's even better, right? Like that's another feather in the cap. But we're talking about AC and roof. Property management queen, Carrie, yes.
In flannel.
In flannel. I forgot who mentioned that last time, but she's wearing flannel again. And I got confirmation on this. I have to apologize to Carrie. The flannel is because it's cold in here, not because it's cold outside. And she's not weird, right? It's just we keep it really cool in here so we can be cool. That was actually a kind of funny thing from sometime last week. But I think that's her favorite. Yes, that's right, flannel baby. I love it. So actually, check out. There's a lot of Snowbound. You were asking about Florida real estate license. There's a lot of places you can actually Google. My personal favorites are Bert Rogers. If you're going to do something online, BertRogers.com. I think it's BertRodgers, I believe, but it's BertRogers.com. Real estate school. They do a pretty good job. Been around for a long time. If you're interested in getting your license, and of course, if you are, we better talk, because I'm the broker here at Realty Executives. Or you can go into our referral program too. We do have a referral program that doesn't cost anything. You can actually refer people to one of our great realtors and make some money. So that's a thing too, but we can connect offline on that. But let's talk like roof and AC. You've got a new roof, new AC unit is always a big plus. That's a really big deal. And, because people want to know that you don't have to worry about it. And we also know we've interviewed. That may be time to bring maybe an insurance person on board and interview them, because we've seen some insurance issues, and I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to make a note of that. We're going to interview one of our great insurance people, maybe next week if I can get him on board, State Farm agent. But he knows everything about insurance, and I think that'd be helpful. So we have seen some issues with roofs and insurance and that type of thing. And one thing I'll say is on that is that you're always better if you've got less than 5 years of life on your roof. There's going to be an issue in selling it in all likelihood. So you're better off replacing the roof in advance. And I know, look, I know what I'm saying. It costs, it's money, but I'm going to tell you that I feel really good about, especially in this marketplace, you're going to get your money back on a new roof, because that's a big deal. People love that as a buyer. Obviously, it's a big thing. And there's some ways, either to escrow the money, after closing, or there's some things that you can do. But if you've got a new roof, that's a plus. AC unit the same, but definitely for the roof. If you have questions about refi, renovation, or resale, right? Value of your property, just let me know. Okay. Glenn Stein, Realty Executives in the Villages. That's our website. And hope everybody has a fabulous week. I'll be doing an update in a couple of days about what's going on in the market. And we'll see you soon. Take care.